Once upon a time, in a small mining town nestled deep in the Rocky Mountains, there was a magical railroad that transported people and goods to all corners of the land. There were freight trains. There were passenger trains. And there were even trains that carried great big logs to the lumber mill. The town was known as Bankhead, and its inhabitants were proud of their mountain heritage as a railroad and mining town. One bright and sunny day, 3 children decided to take a tour of Bankhead's famous railroad. Oscar, Amelia, and Marcus were the best of friends. To be sure, if you saw one of them, the other 2 were not far behind. They were excited to learn about the history of the railroad and how it worked. Oscar always admired the train that traveled through their town, but felt it unfair that he saw other children on the train and they had to stand back and watch. "It's not fair," said Oscar abruptly. "Why do all of those other children from other towns get to ride the railroad and we don't?" "It's because they are traveling from their towns and cities and need to take the train to travel to their destination. We don't have a distant destination to travel to. We live here," exclaimed Marcus. Amelia chimed in, "What if we go to the train station and ask the conductor if we can ride the train as it passes through town?" Oscar and Marcus thought that this was a great idea, and the 3 of them started on their way to the train station. When they got there, they were met by the friendly conductor named Stanley. Stanley had worked on the railroad for many years and knew everything there was to know about it. They hurried their way over to where Stanley was waiting for the train to arrive. "Hello, Stanley," said the children all together. "Well, hello there. Did you want to see me about something?" asked Stanley. "We want to ride the train too," blurted Oscar. "We want to ride the train like we see other children do when they pass through Bankhead." Stanley chuckled. "That should be no problem at all. I'm surprised you never asked me before. How about a tour of the town and a trip on the train?" "Yes, please," said Amelia. The first stop on the tour was the train station. Stanley explained how people would buy tickets and wait for the train to arrive. The children cheered with excitement when Marcus was the first to hear the train coming down the tracks. The train creaked and groaned as the brakes were applied and it came to a stop at the station. When it arrived in the station, Stanley welcomed the children aboard the train and showed them around. "All aboard," said Stanley. They saw the conductor punch their tickets and heard the whistle blow as the train started to move. They climbed aboard one of the passenger cars and sat in the comfortable seats. "Off we go," said the children, as the train slowly made its way out of the station and through the town of Bankhead. The first stop on the tour on the train was a visit to the engine shed, where the trains were repaired and maintained. The children watched in awe as the mechanics worked on the massive locomotives. They saw the steam rising from the engines and heard the loud hiss of the steam whistle. "It's so noisy in here," exclaimed Amelia. "Those locomotives are so big, it's no wonder they make so much noise," said Marcus. After that, they saw the train yard, where the trains were kept when they weren't in use. The children saw rows and rows of boxcars, flatbeds, and tankers. They wondered how all of those trains could fit on the tracks. "Where are all those logs going to?" asked Amelia. "I bet they're going to be used for a great big beaver dam," exclaimed Oscar. Stanley chuckled. "Oh no, Oscar, the beavers are not getting these logs. If they need logs to build their dam, they can chop down the trees they need all by themselves. These logs are being transported by the train on their way to the lumber mill, where they will be cut by the mill workers and made into all sorts of different things, like paper, furniture, and lumber to build houses." After seeing the train yard, Stanley said, "It's time to get back on the train. We have a schedule to keep, and we must make it back to the station on time." Amelia, Marcus, and Oscar got back on the train, and off they went again. As they rode through the town, Stanley pointed out important landmarks, such as the old abandoned mine and the beautiful bridge that crossed the river. Guests from the Bankhead Hotel waved to the children as the train rumbled by. The children saw the mountains in the distance and the beautiful forests that surrounded the town. As their train tour came to an end, the children thanked Stanley for showing them around. They had learned so much about the history of Bankhead. They would never forget the years they were lucky enough to live in their little town of Bankhead and ride on the magical train that ran through it. The town of Bankhead was a real coal mining town in the Canadian Rocky Mountains over 100 years ago. The coal in Bankhead was used for fuel for the steam engines of the Canadian Pacific Railway. Just like this one, a Shay locomotive was a steam engine that needed coal to heat the boiler to produce steam to power the engines. And here's the train station that once stood in Bankhead. In the background is Cascade Mountain, where all the coal would come from. And if you look carefully, you might even see the name Bankhead on the roof of the station. And though their clothes might look different, the school children look the same as children might today. Can you imagine what life might have been like for these children? What might they have learned in school? What games might they have played in a time without television, internet, or video games? Although the town has been gone for a very long time, you can still find coal in Bankhead today. And if you look carefully, You might even find the train that once pulled the mine carts full of coal out from the mine where the miners worked. And if you listen very carefully, you might even hear the sound of a distant coal train running through the Rocky Mountains.